I am the coordinator of the Commercializations theme of Future Agriculture's consortium, and I've been working with the consortium ever since it began back in 2005. What we've been doing on the commercializations is we've been trying to observe what happens as processes of commercialization, what the outcomes are for those small farmers who are able to commercialize, and to understand a little bit better the policy implications of what needs to be done to encourage the kind of commercialization of small farmers that has good outcomes. Very specifically, when we began the work on commercializations, one of the focus questions we were looking at was there a danger that when small farmers commercialize, their food security becomes harmed because they're growing cash crops instead of food crops? Our research findings perhaps can be summarized under about 5 different headings. One is that we can see from these sites that quite large numbers of small farmers can successfully commercialize. Second point, we note that most commercialization takes place by gradual marginal changes to existing farming systems. It is often not a matter of specialization, but actually grafting new enterprises, new crops onto existing farming systems. In many ways, we can talk about cautious commercialization. Small farmers don't take huge risks when they commercialize, and in fact, when it comes to the food security side of it, they actually plant more food crops when they commercialize than when they're not commercialized. The third point that we can make about this is that farmers intensify their cultivation, they apply more fertilizer, they hire more hired labor, they sometimes use better seed, they sometimes use agrochemicals. Now, when they do that, they do it very largely from their own working capital. Very few of the people we see have access to either formal or informal credit. Doesn't mean, by the way, that it's a good thing they're doing this without credit. It merely means that lack of credit doesn't stop this happening, although we believe that if farmers had more access to credit, more people could participate, the pace of progress would be faster, the degree of commercialization and the gains would be greater. I'm an optimist, so I think the future is quite bright, so long as there is successful urbanization in Africa. Africa's cities are growing. I think they could grow faster, but we want them to grow faster with people having decent jobs, decent livelihoods in the cities. As that happens, the market for small farmers producing high-value perishable crops in the peri-urban areas for those urban residents gets bigger and bigger, and that is a huge prospect. It does depend upon successful urbanization. Government can also provide certain strategic interventions through the Ministry of Agriculture, targeted interventions such as supporting certain irrigation schemes, and above all, providing the right kind of agricultural research and extension services that provide technical answers to the challenges that commercializing small farmers will face. My last point here is one of our findings that I didn't mention earlier. It's a very strong finding. Female farmers are almost always disadvantaged in lack of good access to land, water, labor time, credit, technical information. More needs to be done to improve the land and water rights of female farmers, to make those public investments that can reduce the domestic chores that women have to face, such as supplying water, which reduces the time taken to fetch water for the household, and to provide extension services which are directly orientated, friendly and accessible to female farmers. 1 or 2 of our studies show very active land markets despite no formal titling or formal land contracts. People will arrange those things inside of long-standing social norms. And I think you're right, if women have working capital, they are able to participate. But I think it's also rather important for the state, as simply a matter of human rights, to affirm that rights to water and land should equally be enjoyed by men and women. There is no good reason why women should have lesser rights than men have in this.